everybody, Frank. Go ahead. Turn around. See why you're holding
There's just a few of the greatest hits from anti-maskers and drunk folks on airplanes that are fighting over any kind of rules that are involved while flying. And because of those types of instances, there's some people that are calling for a no-fly list to be built of these types of unruly passengers. Now, maybe there's a back and forth. I'm curious as to where you stand on this, but there are some senators, Republican senators, who have signed a letter, sent it to Merrick Garland, that are pushing back on that proposal. Let's look at that. So these 8 Republican senators, they voiced their concerns in a letter on Monday. They noted that according to the Federal Aviation Administration, the vast majority of reports of unruly passengers have been related to the mandated use of face masks amid the pandemic. While we strongly condemn any violence towards airline workers, there's a significant uncertainty around the efficacy of this mandate, as highlighted by the CEO of Southwest Airlines during a recent Senate Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee hearing. Creating a federal no-fly list for unruly passengers who are skeptical of this mandate would seemingly equate them to terrorists who seek to actively take the lives of Americans and perpetuate attacks on the homeland. So these 8 Republicans, Francesca, are Cynthia M. Loomis, Mike Lee, James Lankford, Marco Rubio, Kevin Cramer, Ted Cruz, John Hoeven, and Rick Scott of Florida. Now, the thing is I wonder, because there was things about no-fly lists happening before, and there was concern about people just kind of getting put on it that weren't actually doing the things that would require them to be on the list. And maybe some people get swept up in it unnecessarily. So what do you think about those two sides?
I just lull to that letter, nothing but lull, because if there was one Muslim anti-masker throwing a giant fit and throwing a punch and spitting and biting and trying to open plane doors on any of these flights, you bet your ass we would have no-fly list. We would put them on the same no-fly list that still exists. The alerts that we continue to have, and the fact that we have random searches continually on Muslim passengers. So spare me on this. These people should be banned for a certain amount of time from all flights. It is not okay. It is a federal offense. What happened to this tampering with the lavatory or the smoke detector in the lavatory? Remember how that was like a warning? Let's see what you got, FAA. Come on now, let's do this.
I think it was a Delta CEO. He was one pushing for this as well, and he was saying that each airline has their lists of people. Once they've done these types of things, they put them on a list. But what they want is across the board connection for each of these different airlines to be able to have a complete no-fly list. I guess maybe even they get stopped at TSA to make sure that they're not any of these folks. Now that line about them saying it's going to equate them to terrorists because they don't mean to put Americans' lives at risk. I don't see why that has to be one of the stipulations here. They are putting Americans' lives at risk. They're thinking primarily of themselves, only about themselves, and how angry they are about having to follow rules. And while you're doing that, opening the doors to where pilots are piloting the plane, that's putting Americans' lives at risk.
Hell yeah, it is.
There's no way to argue that.
You're right. How many people were unjustly searched and prevented from going on airplanes in the aftermath of 9/11 simply because they had a name that sounded like Muslim? That's it. That is it. And they did absolutely nothing. Meanwhile, these folks are allowed to continue to go. I mean, again, white privilege in the skies, y'all. Flying while white, you can really do whatever you want. Get on a drink cart, relieve yourself. That's happened before. I'm sure that person can still fly. Yeah, it is. As someone who is a nervous flyer, hell no. Put them on a ban. You can lift it, but you need therapy, you need help. You can come back to the skies when you're good and ready. We'll give you a little pin. We'll give you a little captain's hat. And we can try this again in 6 months.
Badly, I think we're gonna lose this, but it's just gonna be it's gonna be. I mean, that's just my prediction. I feel like they're gonna be able to push this whole thing to say, hey, you can't be unfair to us. How dare you do such a thing? And I guess it's gonna take a black or brown person to be one of these crazed people. Then maybe they'll start thinking twice about it. I don't know, maybe not.
JR, we don't even have vaccine requirements to take a flight. So not only are they freaking out, they're spittling all of their COVID on everybody else. I mean, just like.
And by the way, and as those rules get lifted, as they will across the country eventually and soon, all this fight was for nothing. So if you do end up on the no-fly list, everything's gonna go a little bit smoother for you, except the fact that you can't fly anymore.